See, they're like one night stand babies and stuff like
Whoa,
that.
you gonna do
know
that
what
to
I'm
my,
saying?
my niece and nephew on
Yeah,
camera?
so it was kind of like,
It's okay. You didn't even
know?
really have to,
yeah. See, that's why. But now it makes sense, right?
Can you do me a favor? Can you take that hat off and throw it?
No, I still take care.
But
of
why
it.
do you think people should always have a test after each one?
I think that when you're not in a committed relationship, then you should. I think that that's not saying I don't trust you, you don't trust me. It's just that we're not in a committed relationship where we solidified that that's what it is. So for me, being a man, I'm going to ask for it. And that doesn't mean that I think you're a hoe or whatever. I don't know what you do when you're not around me. But just so that later on, would it be worse in the end to find out after 10 years something happens to this kid?
I'd rather know today.
Something happens to this kid and they say, oh, the kid needs a blood transfusion or bone marrow or something. You're like, oh, sign me up. I'm the daddy. And that's the day that you find out that you're not the dad.
And tell them what today is as well, since we're here.
Well,
Let them know what
today is Mondo's 19th
No,
anniversary.
that's tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
I'm saying
Oh,
today
tomorrow.
is the first day of season 2
You
of
right.
In My Humble Opinion.
You're right.
Okay.
So this is the first day of the second season of In My Humble Opinion. We have had 15 episodes. A lot has happened since episode 1, season 1.
I'm sorry.
A lot of growth. Yep. Roundly for Mondo. For myself, I'm in the best shape of my life. Daph, what's been going on with you?
First of all, hold on, Dad, because I seen some pictures. It don't look like your shape is all that great. Go ahead, Daphne. How are you doing, dear?
I'm great,
Miss
thank
ya.
you.
Okay. Yeah.
I have no issues with my shape.
First of all, I had a fat suit on because I was trying to get traded. I pulled a James Harden. But a lot has happened during COVID and just a lot of reconnections that people have been trying to do. That's with like family, coworkers, friends. A lot of us have been deprived of that socialization. Things opened up, especially here in Michigan and other states, and then things closed.
Yeah.
And things kind of tightened back up. So just looking at that and how that affected each one of us, I know that each one of us suffered some losses during that time, and it was difficult, and it was trying. I know for myself and just by talking to you guys, how that affected you guys. So I'm going to start with you, Dav. That's you.
Hello.
Just want to, like, how have you been? Catch us up.
I've been pretty good, decent, living a dream, not really a good dream, but it's just like a dream. And I'm like, and then working and going to school and, hoping that I continue to succeed with everything that I want to do,
So when we talk about school, so are you a person that's like enjoy school and like cause you know how they say college isn't for everybody, right?
No.
So for you, are you a person that
Lifelong
like you
learner?
enjoy school?
Oh, I love to learn.
Okay.
Is that your question?
Yeah, I think that's what
Yeah.
I was saying. Like, so for you, what your ultimate goals is, like you need school to fulfill that. And,
I want to learn as much as I can learn ever.
Okay, because with being, I guess, an essential worker or whatever, so I signed up for this program to go back to school, and then they asked, what was the reason? Was it to, start, finish your degree, whatever? So I'm like, finish my degree. And then it asks for what? So I clicked for personal reasons because I'm thinking somewhere down the line, because it is a type of, I don't want to say respect. It is just a type of esteem I think people give you when they see that you have that piece of paper, right?
Yeah, I don't look for any gratification or anything out of going to school or learning or anything like that. I don't look for anything from it. I do things for myself.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Like when you live life, you have to do things that make you happy. You have to do things that make you want to continue and make you want to do different things. Like I like to learn for myself, for self gratification. Like I feel like if you don't take the time to learn, not that against anybody or anything, but I just feel like you got to always take the time to learn and understand, because if you don't learn and to understand, you're
grow.
always, you grow when you learn to understand. If not, you're going to just continue to be, wherever you are and take things for
and I think eventually for things I want to do, that it'd just be like, oh, some doors and some rooms I might not can't get in
because of that paper.
Because it's like, okay, well, we know he's well spoken, he's this, he's that, but okay, well, let me finish these last 2 years or whatever, so I get this piece of paper, just so y'all can be like,
because
okay, you're accepted.
Sometimes you look at education and it's not even about the degree in which you hold or what your study is in. A lot of it is, do you have a 4-year degree? Like for me, being a person who do like hiring and firing and looking at people's degrees, it doesn't even matter sometimes about their degree. You know, it's like it won't even say a degree. Some things don't even say a degree in sociology or a degree in counseling. They just say a 4-year degree. Like it says that in the description of a job. So some jobs may say you can't get promoted unless you have a 4-year degree. So you may have a 2-year degree, but they'd be like, in order to take that step up, then you need to go back to school to have this degree. Or they may say you got to go back to school to get a 4-year degree. They won't even say what it is. It can be like in grass watching or something like that. You'd be surprised at some of the 4-year degrees that I've seen during my time of during the hiring process.
I don't think that people are uneducated because they're not in school or anything like that either. You know, I think that people are very well educated even without going to school also. So I don't want to take that away from anybody either.
But it's like we were saying earlier when we were talking about literacy and like how some people were just illiterate, you know, and then you could tell like from their conversation, whatever, and we were saying just from reading stuff, how that just changes.
Your perspective on a lot of things.
Yeah.
There's so many people who are very illiterate in our society now, and people don't take it into consideration. Like even like how we see people on social media and we see people post things or whatever. A lot of times people can post things because they can understand that K-5 education.
Because you didn't read some posts before,
but
and you get a headache reading it, and other people like, say that.
And,
like,
and don't get me wrong, sometimes autocorrect does, autocorrect gets me a lot.
Autocorrect can be your
autocorrect is nobody's friend.
No.
It could be your best friend or your worst enemy.
But I was talking to a friend the other day, and like me and some girls from college or whatever got a group chat, and she lives in Milwaukee, and she was saying that there's a huge amount of people there who are illiterate.
I could believe it. With it being Black History Month, just a couple of days ago, it was the quote unquote the anniversary of the assassination of Malcolm X. I was having this conversation with someone, and I was saying that if you look at Malcolm X's life, he was a crook, a thief, drug addict, whatever. But the Malcolm X, well, that was Malcolm Little. So Malcolm X, very articulate, managed his emotions great, all these things. And I said it came from just reading. Because he never, I said, he didn't graduate from high school, he didn't graduate from college, but he was in a bad situation, circumstance, just started reading the dictionary. You know what I'm saying? And it just changed. I mean, that was part of his change, other things, but literally just reading the dictionary.
I don't think that it was so much of just the reading. I think it was the comprehension. It was his ability to say, I'm not as educated as I would want to be. Not educated as far as like college or educated as far as school. He said, I need to educate myself on what I'm going to be presenting. Yeah. So I think he lost his self in educating himself. So he read and read. And then he said, you know what? I can read all day because the dictionary is going to tell you what a word is. But do I actually comprehend what I'm reading? And to go back to what she said, sometimes when you see those posts and you may make a post that people be like, man, you get 5 people to say, man, that's a nice post. Somebody may make a post that we may think is like dumb and they get 300 likes. That's because sometimes it's your audience.
Right, yeah.
And a lot of times when you're teaching, you have to drop it down to the lowest form possible so that everybody can understand. Like you and I can understand a 5th grade, vocabulary and comprehension, but some people can't understand a high school comprehension. So if I'm writing in a comprehension of high school when most of the people who are going to be receiving my message can only understand elementary and middle school, I'm going to lose a lot of people.
And
so
they said with the news, they like, if you watch the news, a lot of the stories and how it's presented, they don't use like a lot of quote unquote big words. It's like at a level where everybody can understand. And I was like, man, so when somebody told me, I'm like, wow. And then they said it's also a lot of bad news.
Yeah.
It's like, it's never like, you never watch the news and get like all these great, wonderful stories. Like it's always something
Today,
crazy.
somebody saved 15 people and
But
a cat was out of the
what's
tree.
so weird is though, why do you have to dumb down society or dumb down your post or anything like that for people now when they're constantly having these devices in their hand where you can swipe up and you can scroll over and Google's going to tell you everything that you need to know.
That's
You
too
don't
much
even
like
have,
work.
Yeah, but you don't even have to do that. You can click on the side, especially if you got an iPhone, or you can ask Siri the question and Siri is going to tell you. So I just don't understand why
Teach you one of
people
these,
need
buddy.
to dumb themselves down or dumb down what they post just so that other people can understand them. A lot of people do these things so that they can gain some type of attention.
Yep.
I don't think more or less that it's dumbing yourself down. It's having the ability to reach the masses. Like, so say for instance, if Malcolm X, when he was speaking, he spoke at a level of a Harvard professor, right? To a people who was so oppressed that education was deprived of them. So he spoke intellectually, right? Very well spoken, put sentences together and made you understand what he was saying. And us as educated people, if we were back there listening to his speeches, would have understood what he said. And then people who wasn't so educated also could understand what he was saying. I think that there was two groups that he spoke to. The way in which he spoke to that inner circle was different than the way that he spoke to the masses, because they could understand how he was delivering a little bit different.
Because I even say back then with the NOI, it isn't like how it is now. We have all these educated people and scholars and lawyers
Right.
and doctors.
It was
Back then,
ex-drug dealers right out
it
of
was right out of prison. Yeah.
Right.
But I think though, to what Daph was saying, it's like, why dumb it down? Stretch people. It's the rubber band theory. The rubber band is useless unless it's being stretched. And
But-
I think sometimes even with with dumbing yourself down, like you not stretching yourself, so it's like almost, am I doing you an injustice?
Exactly. I'm not going to stoop down to your level to make you feel better and to make you comfortable. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm here to do for me. If you don't understand it and you can't get a board on it, ask me to help you understand, or go find out for yourself so that you can understand. I'm not going to be a person who tries to, make somebody like come and be like, oh yeah, I agree with you. You don't have to agree with me.
I don't think that, like, as being an educator, I think for me, when I'm talking to someone who may not have the comprehension that I have, or the intellect that I think I have, it's easier for me. And they call it dumbing down. I don't call it dumbing down. I call it going on a level in which the person who you're talking to can comprehend. Now, once I get on that level and I deliver what I need to you, then I can take you to where I need you to go. But I can't come at you with something that's over your head and expect to gain for you to gain what I'm saying. But if I come to you and I say, and I speak to you at the level that you're on, and once you understand what I'm saying, I gradually grow you to each level that I want you to go to.
Okay, so I got a question. So last year when Corona first started or whatever, I was like real into, when Corona, I was real into like speeches and like listening to people speak.
Yep.
And watching people speak. And that was like a big thing for me. And Obama is a great speaker.
Great speaker.
Absolutely great speaker.
Oh, is it auditory skills?
Yeah,
Yep.
completely. I mean, he did have a writer for his speeches or whatever, but
He
his writer,
delivered it.
yeah. But a lot of times his writer was saying that like he go off,
I bet.
or he say I don't like
I mean,
this and blah
granted,
blah
you're
blah.
the president of the United States. You don't got time to be sitting around
Yeah.
writing speeches all day.
Right.
He tells you what his message is supposed to be, and you formulate it.
Or
These are my
he say
points.
he didn't like it or whatever. However, with him being a speaker to the public, he never brought down his speeches. He delivered them for everybody to understand on a complete level. Like he didn't, raise it or lower it or anything. So that's what I'm saying as far as like dumbing things down. Like I just feel like you speak as you speak, just like we were saying earlier. When you speak to a child, sometimes you completely speak to them as you're naturally speaking to everybody else. You don't bring it down a level so that they understand. You just speak to them so that they can
Right.
His speeches-
understand
and I'll
clearly.
say, So two parts. Like two of my, well, one is a friend of mine's a pastor, and he was saying that, and it's kind of, I think, kind of what you're hitting on. He said something like a preacher, pastor can only preach to the cognitive level or the education of his congregation, right? But Pastor Ricky Allman, when he would come to Grand Rapids and speak, he used all these big words, right? So at one point in time, it was like, man, why he always got to use these words? Don't nobody know. Right. And he would break them down, like he'd spell them to you. He would like, go look them up. So then after a while, it's like, no, use those words, because how else am I going to learn this new vocabulary? How else? Because if you keep coming to me where I'm at, then I can't grow. You know what I'm saying? So I need you to teach me. For some people, I think for some people, you need that to pull, because I'm a word person. I like to read. I like to write. And then for some people, it's just like, look, I don't want to do the work to know what that stuff
and that's what
means.
I think. I think is I don't want to do the work. But to go back to what you said two different pastors that preached and teach and taught two different ways. Now, had you not had the first pastor,
well, the first one wasn't he's a friend of mine. I'm saying in general, in the conversation.
I'm just putting them together. If the first pastor wasn't there to get the people in on a level in which they understood, the second pastor, I think, would never had a chance. Yeah. Like you couldn't have kept. What I mean by that is this.
No, I get what you're saying.
You would have never had a chance to make me grow, because I've never would have came in.
Yeah. But see, like I'm saying, for me, so that's technically not my experience, though.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, but like the guy who, the friend who did it, he's probably in his 50s. The majority of his congregation is older than him.
Right.
Not educated, whatever. Kind of like we were saying, just because you're not formally educated, it don't mean you're not educated. Rather with like my pastor Jamone and like even with Pastor Ricky, they probably speaking to a lot of people who were either self-educated or had a formal education. So at that time, I didn't have a formal education other than, my high school. Yeah. I didn't even really have, even though I like to read, I still didn't even have like a picking other than reading books for for leisure. Not that self-education. So I think that made a difference.
But I feel like social media uses this and continues to let these things, it's not like they let these things go on, but people are using the social media and they're putting these things out on these platforms, and social media is capturing people. You know what I mean? Like, it's pulling them in where they're no longer thinking logically, and in the real world, they're now thinking socially of what is being seen and heard on social media, and they're no longer in touch with the real world and reality and what's going on in actuality.
Well, let me ask y'all this question then. To piggyback off what you said, you know how we would see these movies and they would kind of depict that how it would become like
10 years from now.
Like George Orwell's like 1983 or whatever.
Is it that?
I think it's George Orwell.
Or the one with Bruce Willis where they lived in an artificial world.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's like that's what we do, because with COVID, it's hard to be physically social.
But
right?
there's a documentary out on Netflix right now about this whole social media and Facebook thing.
Oh, I ain't seen it.
But see, I think what Mondo said, like, what COVID did is helped out, these social media things where people were driven to there, because that was the only real contact that you were having with people. Let's say social media and technology like Zoom, Facebook Messenger, all of these things Teams that we were able to still kind of have some type of communication with one another. And then you look at Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and a lot of people on there are very social, but in real life, they're not that person. Like, they're not that social. They're not that welcoming, at all. But they are able to portray a different life on social media that they're comfortable with. That some people are more comfortable with living whatever their persona is on social media than they are in their real life. Like, they're only happy when they're in social media land.
Because I tell people, as outgoing as I am on Facebook, and they're like, well, you do a podcast, you did radio. I said, I'm still kind of shy. I said, unless I'm around my circle and in my comfort zone. But I said, for the most part, I'm kind of like standoffish, and it's not personal. But so even with that, dating, you know what I'm saying? Like, people, meet you had dating apps, and I think people now will use like Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook, whatever now because that's when you talk and see people the most. Because you'll be friends with somebody on social media that you never ever met, right? But you can still inbox or whatever like that.
But you feel like, dude, you know those people.
Man, you feel like you've grown up with these
those
people.
And that's the crazy part.
I don't.
We know.
I can't stand.
I mean, I don't. I don't have any type of real, like, even in the, I don't have like a connection to like.
I don't think
you've seen people.
I see it.
You've seen somebody and be like, dang, she dating somebody else already?
Right.
Oh, well, yeah, like people I know, but like,
no,
yeah.
just like random people like, wait, she was just with Sean 2 months ago.
No,
she did
Johnny.
Christmas pictures with Sean. It's Valentine's Day. She in the picture with Earl.
That ain't even my business.
But
they make it our business.
Right.
And then people get mad, talk about, I don't know everybody in my business. First of all, because you posted on here.
Yeah.
I tell people, once you share it on that app, it's all our business. That belongs to us.
Yeah.
And then you touched on Malcolm X for a little bit, and this is February, and let's just touch on like the whole Black History Month. And what do you think has been the most impactful or most moving thing in Black history thus far for you personally? I know that you got the civil rights, you got this, but what was one moment that really made you proud that you would say, you know what, this history, whether it's history or present, of being Black?
I think it was from a conversation I was having earlier today with one of my friends. Now, when I look at Black history, like Black History Month, I look at it as far as like Negro Black History Month, like, United States, right? When it became the United States, not nothing before. Then I look at my life. One of my proudest moments was the first time I seen the Minister Farrakhan on Donahue show. So real quick, I'll try to say this as fast as possible. So my Uncle Bobby, he lived on the north side of Grand Rapids for me growing up. And him and my grandmother is either like first cousins or he was my grandmother's nephew or something like that, right? But every summer, whether I lived in Grand Rapids or didn't live in Grand Rapids, I stayed with him every summer for X amount of time, right? So he was married to Malcolm X's sister. So his kids and grandkids and so forth and so on are the nieces and nephews of Malcolm X. So then my grandmother, same way I'm talking about, so then she looked after Malcolm X's mother, right? X amount of years ago when she lived in Kalamazoo. So I always knew about Malcolm X. So then let's fast forward to when I'm a kid. So I knew about like Nation of Islam, whatever, not thoroughly, but just knew, Muslims, whatever. Don't know what it means, but just know hearing the term. So I grew up in a house with different religions, right? We didn't go to church. We didn't go to the mosque. We didn't go to the synagogue. But we had people in my family who belong to all these different sects. So now, growing up around racism and all these different things, going to a school in Kalamazoo where they changed the name of the school from whatever it was to Martin Luther King School, and people in the neighborhood were outraged. I thought as a kid, I'm thinking they're just mad because they changed the name of the school. But no, they're mad because they changed the name of the school to Martin Luther King, right? So then been dealing with racism before then, but it's just normal. It's like, oh, white people call you the N-word or something.
That's never been normal to me.
It just is what it is. Like, I know I'm Black, you don't like me,
right?
It's fine, but I do have white friends and their moms love us and stuff like that. Right. But we know it's just some of them that don't like us because we're a little bit darker. And I wasn't much darker, so I don't know why y'all mad at me. So to say this, when I first seen Farrakhan and Khalid Muhammad on television giving these people work in a respectful manner.
They were.
That was my proudest moment, to be like, just because you think this of me, let me tell you who I am.
Yeah. What was yours, Dad?
I have a lot of moments because I love me some history, but my most recent proudest moment is I'm super proud of Stacey Abrams.
And what she did in Atlanta?
And because of what they did to her and what she did in Atlanta. And then I'm super proud of all of the people that are coming out of these black colleges
Yes.
and being noticed in society for whom they are, for the colleges that they went to and things like that. And I look forward to in the future for it to be a place in society and in our culture of the world now or whatever in the United States for people to understand the greatness of the black man in our society, because right now, there's people who are out there always about the LGBTQ, LMNOP community, and then the women of the community. And that's absolutely fine. But I feel like a lot of times people fail to realize the greatness in the black men in our society.
And the black men are the one who fought for all these civil rights.
Okay, there were black women also.
No. But you was giving credit to the black men. You wasn't giving. See,
He was trying to help you.
I was just trying to help your point.
I think for me,
I love you.
But I'm just saying, if
love
a
you.
woman is gonna let me give you.
Oh, thank you. Real quick before you go, Will, I'm sorry. What's the brother's name? He was from HBCU. I don't know if he's a president there, but he's like a multi-millionaire.
the one who paid for everybody's schooling.
Yeah.
That was
Oh,
that was kind of. I was going to use Stacy, then you did it, and then my next one. We say personal, and I know I brought this up before, but growing up in Grand Rapids and not really seeing a bunch of African American males be able to come together and be positive and show some feelings and emotions and just really embrace each other and get to the point where they're just checking on each other, and that's okay, and it seems okay, and you look forward to it. This summer blew my mind. You know, we had that group pass the drink, and when we talk about history and Black history, I think sometimes we think on the bigger scale, you know. And for me, it was that low. It may not have meant a lot to a lot of people.
It was a little bit,
but that little bitty bleep meant a lot to me, more than I think people know. That group meant a lot to me. I think the most stand out, and I said this before, you know, when Twan and Tati lost their and Daph lost their daughter, just that togetherness that was showed from the men in Grand Rapids, I felt so good about that. Like I just wanted more. Like I think it just made me just say, man, because I've never experienced that. I've lived in a lot of places. I've never experienced that with Black men. So for me, that was a proud moment in Black history for me in this city, in my life thus far. I think that it spoke volumes. I think that some relationships were formed, and I know for sure that there were some relationships mended.
Yeah,
through
definitely.
that,
Yeah, I think
from
something
people
mended.
who had some old things that was carrying years and years, and was able to come together and embrace one another, and then speak about those things, and even interact and be in
even
the
if
same
they
room.
didn't speak on them, it was like an unsaid.
Unsaid.
Yeah.
You know what? We good, brother.
Yeah.
And then we started meeting up at different places, and phone calls start happening. So for me, that was one of my proudest moments in Black history.
that's awesome.
For myself. But, you know, we're back. We're ready. We're excited. We're going to have some guests this season.
Yes.
We're going to be more interactive. You know, we're going to be doing some of our YouTube lives now.
Yeah.
You've seen us do some of the Facebook lives. We're going to do more of the meetup things, some of social things once the world open back up.
Man, I had a.
I won't be there for a meetup.
You will.
Yes, you will.
Yeah.
We'll be doing those things. So, if you got one line to leave on how you're going to describe this season coming up, what would it be?
I think it's going to be impactful. I don't even know what camera I'm on. Impactful. Yeah, I think this year we be more impactful. I think season 1 people got to know us, so I think season 2 they're going to see what we do.
Right. Because we're all pretty dope individuals.
I think you should always look for the good in life and be great, friends.
Yes.
I think that this season is going to be amazing. You're going to see the evolution of each one of us. I think that just highlighting each other and then highlighting us as a group and the strength and the bond that we have. as we talked about reconnection, we just spent almost all the time together, and then COVID just like kind of shut us all down, where we really wasn't seeing each other as much.
I got one goal this season too.
What's your goal?
And I'm gonna find out who hurt you. That's my goal. That's my goal.
That's your goal?
Who hurt you?
All right. So again, I'm Will. That's Mr. Dr. Ramon.
Man, because people get triggered so easily, man. It's ridiculous.
But you don't know what people have had going on. You know what I mean?
This is Daph. Be great friends. I'm Will. I love y'all. Appreciate y'all. Check me out. Every kid deserves a dope father. Check out the gear. We are out. Peace out. Bye. See you later. Start the bye-bye music, Matt. Are we done, Matt? But that's your fault.
That's not my fault.
It
You
is.
see the world
It's
the
your
way
fault.
You see the world. That's another part of cognitive dissonance.
I'll tell you why it's your fault. Because when people see Daph, they want to see bubbles and rainbows and flowers. No, I'm just saying, because that's what she gives out. Daph will start the day off giving you like all of these great things and wants you to be amazing. And then by the time 7, 8 o'clock roll around, she's tearing you down and talking
not.
about you.
When?
And then she's doing, hey, I don't care. That's what it is. It's your life.
I do care.
So you hurt them. That's who hurt them, Mondo. It was Daph.